So I made it out to my studio today. It was very exciting. And, we're having beautiful spring weather here in Ojai. And so I'm so grateful. And also for me right now, turning toward what's beautiful, noticing what's beautiful is really a daily practice. And the other daily practice that I want to recommend for all of us is 10 minutes of creative practice. So 10 minutes where you're just riffing with something that you really like to do, whether it's playing with flowers or whether it's artwork or, I like to put on music and move. And when you start your day, even with just 10 minutes of creative, just focusing on creative expression, I think it creates a blueprint for your whole day of opening up to seeing the creative possibility. So in any given moment, we can choose how we respond. And if we are really choosing how we're using our awareness, one thing I also wanted to mention is that after many, many years of focusing on attention and the power of attention, it's now entered the mainstream. I noticed that there's a summit coming up on attention, and of course, it's this attention. Like people think attention comes, eyeball to eyeball. So I think one of the things that we can all do is be focusing on the shifting of our attention. That's really the basic, but then infusing our attention with different intentions. And of course, the one that's the very most useful is appreciation. And how I get into appreciation is with because almost always our default position is critical brain. So I'd like you to first let yourself notice you, and then notice somebody on the call, and then notice you. And what I find when I'm doing that is that the default position is basically observing, judging, comparing, what's wrong. Oh, my hair looks terrible. Or, that we default to that. So just let yourself notice how you're noticing right now. So noticing you, and then noticing somebody on the call, maybe somebody that you haven't noticed before, and then noticing you, and then noticing somebody else. So one thing that I'm noticing, as you're noticing, is that many of you have stopped breathing. So that almost always comes, stopping breathing almost always comes from left brain noticing. Because we're focused and not noticing the rest of our body, so we stop breathing, stop moving. So now I'd like you to sending your all the way through your body. I'm feeling my going all the way down through my sits bones, and my toes are starting to wiggle with so that you're actually feeling the and then I'd like you to let yourself combine the with your noticing. So like a little bit of a waterfall through you. For me, I immediately can feel flow. And I feel it underneath my skin. It's sort of like, it's like little champagne bubbles underneath my skin. So you can also notice how you're noticing when you Now let your accompany your noticing others. So that when you're sending your attention out, let it come with a And since we're among friends, you can go ahead and let yourself Also, since you're muted, that So when I immediately notice color. Like Sherry, I'm noticing the lovely color of your skin. and feel kind of a glow, and then I can go, oh, glowing, and then I'm circulating glowing, letting yourself add sending your now in a different, bring your attention back to you and let the move somewhere else in you. Like I'm feeling my coming down my spine now. And as I do that, I can feel just a subtle kind of opening, that sound and attention together, our consciousness and movement together, are really how our body thinks. It's very different than how our mind thinks. And so when you're circulating your attention, you probably will sometimes default, like you're just looking, or you're looking for something, or you're pinning somebody with your attention. But when you particularly humming, has all kinds of, it shifts your inner state, but I think it also shifts your availability for noticing more spaciously out in the world. So as you're continuing to let your attention circulate, simply notice a different part of you, and let yourself bring your Can you let the continue in you, even though you're not sending it through your throat? Can you let an energetic And you can always like I in public. I just want you to know that, I'll be with someone and I'm and I also I do these little surreptitious experiments, so if I'm humming in line at a grocery store, which is one of my main places I experiment, and I will notice the people around me, they start moving, they start smiling, their faces open up, and they may not have any idea what happened, but I think we can each be a source of regard, of really sending our energy, recognizing the humanity of others, recognizing our own humanity. Now, the other thing that I wanted to do with our loop of awareness today is to ask you, who have been participating in our loop of awareness experiments for a long time, what kind of attention would you like today? Is there, because group focus of sending attention is very powerful. And if any of you have a special request, if you'd like attention for something, or you'd like a certain kind of attention for us to give you, I'd love to hear about that, and I'd love to give that to you. So, but the thing is, you got to request it. So that's wonderful. Sherry, please, what would you like?
I turn 70 tomorrow, so I would like to be appreciated.
Oh, well, and birthday greetings and transitions and so yes, so let's loop, and then you can take your birthday greetings back to you as well, and you're rebirthing yourself today, and then back to Sherry, and ah, yes, and let your body fully participate with it. So you're doing a little birthday celebration dance for Sherry. Ah, thanks so much for sharing that with us. Lovely, lovely. So just take a moment to notice what it's like to give attention, and how that, it really does circulate back to you. So thank you for giving us that opportunity, Sherry. And I hope you have a fabulous day tomorrow, which will be soon for you. Wonderful. And others, is there a particular kind of attention that you would like? Or just you would like some attention? And we can focus attention on you. Now, I know this is challenging, and this is part of the reason I want to do it, because it's like, oh, really? No, I don't really need anything. If there's time, if there's space, if nobody else has anything. So I'd like you to let yourself get willing to receive, and make a request. So ask your body, is there something that you would like? Is there some kind of attention that you would? Yes. So Deborah, unmute yourself, darling.
My son only texted me yesterday, Happy Mother's Day. And he is my favorite. I adore him. I know he adores me, but I had this not enough, forgotten. So I need to fill in that little gap.
Yes. Well, it
I
sounds
can,
like it might not be a little gap, but let's
yeah,
just.
bigger gap. I
So
know.
what I'm getting is a kind of I'm gathering rose petals, and I'm
Oh,
going to whoof
he
toss.
used to plant flowers for me on Mother's Day until he moved to Amarillo. So now they've just blown in the wind. So having these petals come back hit the spot.
So, so here's another thing about this. When we're looping with each other, then the universe moves through us. So when you're in that open space of sharing, you're much more likely to like be able to send the rose petals, without having to think about it. You will be gifting and then
Mhm.
as gifting yourself as well. So let's just give a little bit more of mother, happy Mother's Day, but appreciation for everything that you have done as a mother and for mothering. And for how nobody would be here without us mothers. So, yeah, like, so we birthed the world. So, also, the mothers among us, let's, yes, it's like, oh, Mother's Day. But Mother's Day was first started after the Civil War by Harriet. Oh no, somebody Howe. Her last name is Howe, um, who was so disgusted by the way the war and the number of deaths, and he said, "Okay, it's time for mothers to take over." So Mother's Day was actually started to counter war. And I love that. So I announced yesterday that that's the only kind of Mother's Day I'm wanting to celebrate. So, and also take a moment to give attention to the mother in you and how you mother yourself, how you care for yourself, and whether you let yourself care for you or you go, oh, that's too much. You have to earn that. Or, because we go left brain like, haven't you got enough lotions and potions now? And all of these ways that and I go, no, never enough lotions and potions. So, so letting yourself just take a moment to give yourself and the mother in you and the mothers that you come from a little appreciation and maybe a little hug. Yeah, beautiful. All right, let's take a look at our card for today. And as that is coming up, I'd like you to let yourself open up to your loop of awareness going in and finding open spaces and then coming back to you and finding open spaces, noticing textures, noticing surfaces. And the sentence here is, I know my stress signals and can shift easily into responsive presencing. I know my stress signals and can shift easily into responsive presencing. And then the question is, how can I feel the connection between my body postures and mental attitudes, and then use that knowledge to open to discovery? It's really a kind of a loop of awareness. How can I feel the connection between my body postures and mental attitudes, and then use that knowledge to open to discovery? So how I have been using this particular card, this particular invitation, is to notice when I'm on the flow end of the continuum and when I'm on the less movement and stuck end of the continuum, and how my body shifts. And where I've found the most benefit is noticing where my body first signals me that I'm moving into stress. So, and when I'm moving into stress, I'm moving into separation, I'm moving into making things happen, I'm moving into left brain judgment. So the is an antidote. But what I've noticed is that I often would not use that antidote until I was already like on the roller coaster, already strapped in, and I was on the ride. And I found that knowing my stress signals just simply lets me know when I've come out of a dynamic balancing, when I've gotten overloaded in one direction of, judgment or not breathing or not moving, or projecting something onto somebody else. So just as you're looking at the card and you're coming back to yourself, let yourself ask, where is my easiest signal to notice that I'm moving out of presence? And then what can I do right in that moment? So for me, the easiest things are fear melters, taking a slower breath, maybe even just changing my posture in that moment. So experiment, just as you're playing with this, of a stress signal, and then just for a moment amplify that stress signal. So for some of us, that will be tightness in your jaw. That's a very reliable one. Another one is feeling your shoulders lift. Most people don't notice their shoulders lifting until they're way up. And so noticing that your shoulders are elevating, noticing tightness in the middle of your body, the butterflies. So, but it could be a very subtle one. Like for me, one of the most subtle ones is that instead of wiggling my toes start gripping. So because my toes are foundational in my relationship with the world, I'm regularly checking, how are my feet doing? And that signal then lets me know that I can make a shift. You can make a shift early on, which allows you to presence yourself again and be response able rather than being on the adrenaline ride. And so I find that practice is in the responsibility arena of our integrity cards, and it really is about reclaiming your creativity, reclaiming hooking up with your aliveness and not having it hijacked by adrenaline. Or it will get hijacked these days. It's going to get hijacked, but you can, just by making simple choices that are really based in loop of awareness and giving attention to yourself, you can presence yourself again. So I wanted to share that card. Let's come on back to the group. And I wanted today, before we go into Presence Connect Play, I just wanted to see if anybody had any little aha or any question about the card that we looked at today, of noticing your stress signals and then making a shift. Anything that anybody wanted to share before we go on? All right, super duper. Let's take a look then at Presence. I love it. Presence Connect Play. I want you to know I just pushed the button. That's all I did here. So here's what came up. So presence is appreciate. And then in parentheses it says you too. So appreciating, the whole act of appreciating, we define it in all kinds of different ways, but in the what you get from the that sweetness or flow or spaciousness, letting that be part of what you're focusing on. Also, when I'm appreciating, I'm intending to look at a person's essence. I'm not looking for, oh my God, what'd you do with your hair today? I'm really looking at And my intention is to celebrate their essence. So in your appreciating, I invite you to be looking for essence hunting in your appreciating. And then connect is loop and shift your attention. Just shifting your attention is a very, very powerful way of presencing yourself. And you can go for a long time getting just, all out, into the news or into the, oh my God. And when you shift, you literally are circulating your attention again. And that's really the basis of your aliveness and the basis of connections with others. So looping, I continue to value it and learn more and enjoy sharing it with others. Play is also about attention, is letting your attention fan out and then focus. This is an incredibly valuable looping skill, and I'm just about to sneeze, so I'm going to just save you from the yeah, I inherited my dad's sneezes. My dad, when he sneezed, you could hear him at the other end of the house. It was sort of like a 747 taking off. This kind of a phew. Letting your attention fan out, because almost always we have our attention connected to pay attention, which gets very narrow and very focused. And over here, if I'm paying attention, I get tight and I stop breathing. But when I fan out my attention, I'm creating what scientists call situational awareness. I am become aware of what's going on around me, and then within that, I can focus. So I want you to just take a moment to play with that. I have a great place here in the backyard where I can fan out and then focus on this beautiful painting that's on the wall and then fanning out. So I find this especially valuable when I'm driving. So fanning and focusing has allowed me to be safe and to avoid 4 or 5 accidents. So just even that, creating safety. But then what you're also noticing are the possibilities. One of the cool things that Jung said is that the hunch occurs on the periphery. So often what you're looking for is not out here, it's on the edges. It's just emerging. It's lurking back there and waiting for your attention. So fanning and focusing is a wonderful skill that's going to really add to your ability to presence yourself, to appreciate, to participate fully in life. So I love it how, and this all comes from our intentionality and our practice. So we all created the connection between the card and the Presence Connect play. So I think that is very, very cool. So I'm going to be leaving momentarily. I also wanted to let you know that I've started recording a poem, one of my poems, on Mondays and posting it on Instagram. And I think it also goes onto Facebook. So look for them, because today's going to be today is the title of the one today is called The Crazy Woman in the Bathtub. So that's coming shortly. So please stay and enjoy and share and appreciate, and happy birthday again, Cherry. Mwah! Much love to everybody. And until next time, bye now.